Before the frostbite sets in and your fingers go numb, hit that like button and drop a comment below telling me the coldest temperature you have ever endured, because what we are discussing today is the difference between a story you tell at a bar and an obituary. Imagine the scenario. It is 3 in the morning, pitch black, and the temperature has plummeted to 40 degrees below zero. You are lying in your expensive, high-tech four-season tent, but the nylon walls have stiffened into crinkling sheets of ice. The silence outside is absolute, a heavy, suffocating weight that swallows sound. But inside, the noise of your own shivering is deafening. You can feel the heat leaving your body, radiating out into the void, and the creeping realization hits you like a punch to the gut. Your gear is failing. That thin layer of fabric isn't a shelter. Against this level of cold, it is merely a burial shroud. You bought into the fatal misconception that normalcy applies here, that a brand name protects you from the laws of thermodynamics. It does not. The cold is an unseen enemy, a thief that steals warmth through conduction and radiation, and it does not care about your credit card limit. But you are not going to freeze tonight. You are going to unzip that useless tent, step out into the white abyss, and turn the very enemy threatening to kill you into your greatest ally. We are going to build a thermal fortress using nothing but snow, a few sticks, and the immutable laws of physics to create a microclimate that defies the frozen world. The first step in your ascent from victim to architect requires you to stop looking at the snow as a frozen wasteland and start seeing it as raw building material. You need to build a mound, but you cannot simply pile up loose powder and expect it to hold. You must act as a geologic force. Take your shovel or a snowshoe or even a cooking pot and begin piling the snow into a heap at least 6 feet high and 10 feet wide. But here is the trick. You must mix snow from different depths. You are mechanically disturbing the snow crystals, breaking their sharp points so they can bond together in a process called sintering. This is work hardening. You are not just making a pile, you are creating a chaotic molecular structure that will rebond into a substance as hard as concrete but comprised of 90% trapped air. That trapped air is your insulation, the barrier that stops the heat thief in its tracks. Do not pack it down with a shovel. Flip the snow so it mixes, then let physics take the wheel. Once your mound is built, you have to do the hardest thing in a survival situation. You have to wait. If you start digging now, the roof will collapse and bury you. You need to give the snow at least 90 minutes to sinter, to let those crystals lock together. During this time, you are gathering your next tool. A few dozen straight sticks, each about 12 inches long. These are not firewood. They are your engineering blueprints. Poke these sticks all over your mound, driving them in until they are flush with the surface. These are your depth gauges. When you are inside excavating, you will dig until you hit the end of a stick, ensuring your walls are a uniform 12 inches thick. This thickness is critical because if the walls are too thin, they collapse. Too thick, and they won't breathe, causing carbon dioxide to build up. This simple trick turns a guessing game into a precise architectural endeavor. When the time comes to excavate, do not crawl in on your hands and knees like an animal. You need to think like a fluid dynamics engineer. You are going to dig a tunnel at ground level, but once you are inside the footprint of the mound, you are going to dig up. This creates a sleeping platform that is elevated above the door. This is where you exploit the physics of air density. Cold air is dense and heavy. It wants to sink. By keeping your sleeping platform higher than the entrance, you create a cold sump. The freezing air flows down and out the door, while the warm air, generated by your body, rises and gets trapped in the dome where you are sleeping. You are literally drowning the cold air in a trench while you float above it in a pocket of warmth. As you hollow out the interior, pushing the debris out the door behind you, pay attention to the texture of the ceiling. A rough ceiling is a torture device. As the interior warms up, the inner layer of snow will melt. Slightly. If the roof is jagged, that water will drip on you, soaking your gear and freezing you to death. You must smooth the ceiling to a glass-like finish. This ensures that when condensation forms, it doesn't drip. It follows the curve of the dome, sliding harmlessly down the walls to the floor. You are using surface tension to direct moisture away from your body, turning the inevitable melting process into a controlled drainage system rather than a leaky roof. Now, consider the air you breathe. In a sealed snow shelter, you can suffocate long before you freeze. Snow is permeable, but as your body heat melts the inner wall and it refreezes, it forms an ice glaze that seals the room airtight. You must create a dedicated lung for your shelter. Take a walking stick or a ski pole and punch a single hole through the center of the roof, slightly off to the side of where your head will be. This is your chimney. It allows the hot, stale carbon dioxide to escape and draws fresh oxygen in through the low entrance tunnel. It creates a convective loop, a constant, imperceptible breeze that cycles the air without stripping away your heat. Without this vent, you are simply building a tomb. Your final structural defense is the door itself. You do not want to seal the entrance completely, as that stops the airflow, but you need to block the wind. Use a backpack or a block of snow to partially obstruct the opening, but the real secret lies in the orientation. Never build the tunnel facing directly into the wind. If the wind shifts, build a windbreak wall outside the tunnel entrance, a simple curved wall of snow blocks that deflects the gale. This creates a localized area of low pressure outside your door, preventing the wind from forcing its way in and stripping the warm air you have worked so hard to trap. You are using aerodynamics to shield your sanctuary. Finally, you must insulate yourself from the ground. The earth is a heat sink of infinite capacity. It will drain the life out of you faster than the air will. You cannot sleep directly on the snow platform. You need a thermal break. If you have a sleeping pad, use it, but in a survival scenario, you likely need more. Harvest pine boughs, spruce branches, or even empty backpacks and arrange them on your elevated platform. You want at least 6 inches of loft between you and the snow. This layer of dead air stops conduction cold. You are essentially floating on a cushion of air, completely disconnected from the frozen earth beneath you. With the shelter complete, you bring in the heat source, you. Your body is a furnace putting out about 100 watts of heat energy. In a tent, that heat is lost to the wind. In your snow dome, that heat is reflected back at you by the white walls. If you have a single candle, light it. 1 candle in a properly built quinsy can raise the temperature by 20 degrees or more. The radiant heat bounces off the crystalline walls, turning the interior into a thermal battery. The walls absorb the energy, melting slightly during the day and refreezing at night, releasing latent heat in a phase change cycle that stabilizes the room temperature. You have created a self-regulating environment that maintains a livable temperature regardless of the storm raging outside. This is the philosophy of the survivor. Gear is fragile, but physics is eternal. A $1,000 tent can be shredded by the wind or rendered useless by a broken zipper, but the insulating properties of snow and the density of cold air will never change. You have stopped relying on products and started relying on principles. You have taken the very thing that threatened to kill you, the crushing weight of the snow, and transformed it into a shield. You are no longer fighting the environment. You have manipulated it, forcing the elements to work for you. Now picture the scene again. Outside, the wind is howling at 50 miles per hour, stripping the heat from everything it touches, a chaotic fury of ice and darkness. But you are not out there. You are inside your dome, resting on a bed of pine boughs. The air is still and quiet. The single candle flickers, casting a warm, golden glow on the glazed white walls. It is 40 degrees below zero on the other side of that wall, but in here, it is 40 degrees above. You are warm enough to take off your heavy parka. You are safe. You are not just surviving. You are thriving in a place that should have killed you, because you refuse to be a victim of the cold. I want you to go to the comments right now and tell me, if you had to spend one night in the wild with only 3 items, what would they be? Drop your answer below, hit like if you learned something, and stay ready.